Luca, Henry and Elliot, we work with Intelligent Ways. We're a recruitment business, work with a number of tech companies, including a number of startups in the blockchain space. Not that you guys, but who knows?
Would be good.
Yeah, we just wanted to, well, before we thank you for coming down and presenting, we've kind of taken our foot off the gas the past few months with this community, and a few things have been going on behind the scenes, but we're trying to build it up. We're trying to get people to collaborate. We know a number of you now who are coming down, so on the Meetup group you'll see there's a link to the Slack channel that we set up yesterday. I've been banging on about it for months. We finally got around to it. So if we start going on there, you guys can obviously join other companies on there, and we want to make this a hub for blockchain technology outside of London. It's a decentralised technology, so why not have it
decentralised
out of London, out of San Francisco,
yeah.
just live up to what the technology should be.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to come, because we're always ending up going to London.
Yeah.
And being based in the Midlands, the decentralisation, we're thinking, well, where is the activity in the Midlands? So
Exactly.
for us, it's a real pleasure to be here.
We have quite a few people that come along. We have new faces like we've got tonight.
What camera view?
Yeah, come down.
Yeah.
We have quite a few people that come along. So we have a mixture of new faces like we have tonight. Most that generally turn up are probably in a beer garden right now.
But today is the hottest day of the year, and since 1976, so all credit to them. All credit to the people that have
And
actually
for the
come.
youngsters, 1976 is a
Oh yeah, I forget. Oh, last century, it's really last century, isn't it?
Yes, Celine said to me, we remember 1976, what should we do to remember it? And I said, we'll have to get one of those little rubber, what's it, little blow-up pools with some water in it. I'm going to sit in it naked in the garden.
That might have to be edited out.
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean, I'm old enough to know I was not very old at the time.
Yeah, oh, right.
Not that old.
But I think it goes without saying to thank you both for coming down here
Oh,
in person. It genuinely means a lot, and we will look forward to hearing about
Well,
it.
I hope it's interesting.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll step aside now.
Can we ask you guys?
Where do you want us to go?
Well, I'm just here, so wherever your spaces are. Oh yeah, it'd be better if you're there so you can see the screen. Are we streaming now?
No one's joined us yet, but I'll keep an eye on it in case anyone.
Oh right, don't you stream
I'll
until...
ignore it because
In case anyone
it'll,
pops in there.
Oh right.
it'll make me
Oh,
shy.
so don't you stream anyway?
It's just me at the moment.
Oh,
It
okay.
is, but it's just
Given
me.
a link, it's...
There's no one in. There's no one here.
Sometimes we've had like 3 or 4 people that asked to just for us to
okay.
stream it.
All
Oh,
right.
right, okay. Okay, so yeah, so my name is Paul Laurel. I'm the founder of Zonafide. And this is Selena, my partner. She's a partner in business as well as life, but it does actually work. It's working for us anyway at the moment. I know a lot of people are sceptical about things like that. Quick overview of the team. So yeah, so as I've said, I'm Paul Laurel. By the way, I'll just mention that I probably will end up talking for about 40 minutes. If you ask me questions that are too deep, Trevor, I will go down the wrong path. We'll be here all night.
To ask you questions.
Oh, okay. All right. So if you can ask me questions again, that would help me stay on track.
Yeah.
So I've had about over 30 years in technology. You know, I actually started with an operating system called Microsoft Unix. Right now, the technical people here will say, "What are you talking about?" You know, Microsoft's definitely not Unix. Yeah, it was. It was called Microsoft Xenix. It was 1984, and that was my specialism. And of course, they abandoned that and went to MS-DOS and then Windows and whatever. So that's when my career started in distributed computing. Actually, at the time, was studying with Jaguar cars, but then I ended up in investment banking and things like that. I'm not going to preempt. I've got a little script about my history actually, so I won't preempt myself. Selena herself was a career teacher up until September 2015, when she joined me full-time on this project. Selena was already working with a use case with local governments, and when we felt we were close to actually getting agreements with them, she went full-time because we thought, we've got a use case, I think we're going to be in business. That was 18 months ago. Right, so it takes quite a long time. We've got an announcement to make, which we can't do tonight. We were hoping to, but we believe we're going to get an advisor that has an extremely high profile. Well, maybe I'm giving him too much credit. He became a big head, but he has got a high profile in the crypto community. We've spoken to him a couple of times about how he can help us. He believes we're one of only a handful, if not less, of real products and real channels to market for crypto technology. So hopefully in a week or two, you'll find that he ends up joining us at a minimum as an executive advisor. We've got some other advisors here. Ron Hitchens, he's from Silicon Valley. He's had loads of startup experience and exit experience, so he helps us out advising from that point of view. Now, was it Luke? Experian. So the system that tells you whether your credit, your personal details is liable to someone using it to commit fraud. It was a system called Garlic. He's the architect of it, and he sold it about 6 or 7 years ago for 20 million to Experian. So I told you there was a connection with Experian. Hence he sits on our advisory team because Experian is potentially an exit. You know, so even though it sounds odd, you're creating a business, you're just a startup, you do have to have a route to which market might want to buy your company.
And we buy everything.
They acquire and they don't innovate. So
That's right, that's exactly right. I mean, in Experian, you'd think that Experian sounds like it does innovate, okay? But actually it's one of 3 credit rating agencies, which I believe is a cartel. You know, they have a very special arrangement with the financial services sector. Oops, I'm saying this on tape, a live stream, but they do, and so that's exactly right. I mean, they don't necessarily have to innovate, do they? They can acquire as they go along. This chap here is really important to us, Bennett Aaron. He's actually a comedian, a TV writer, an author, etc. But he, in the 2000s, he actually had identity theft himself, and our product is part of helping people avoid identity theft. And he did a Channel 4 documentary about identity theft, and in that documentary he stole the Home Secretary's identity at the time, which was Charles Clarke. I was getting confused with Kenneth Clarke, that's another age issue. So Charles Clarke, and he got into a lot of trouble for it, but since he obviously must have got away with it, and so since then he's always been a regular speaker at identity theft conferences and things like that, and he's making a side channel for him. So he saw our product before Christmas and said no one's doing anything like this, and he's been looking at the identity theft business for about 10 years. So. Okay, so why didn't I want to preempt myself? As I've been meeting more people, younger people, you know, people my age, who are starting to get involved in this technology, and then we've got the whole issue of crypto and this issue that it's a bubble, etc. I mean, I'm certainly embarrassed I hold no crypto holdings. I mean, a year ago, obviously I'm involved with Ethereum, so why didn't I take a bunch of money and buy Ethereum when it was like $2 or something? It's because I'm committed to what I'm trying to do, and then as I keep watching that go up and up and up like that, it's a year later I'm going, what am I doing? But unfortunately, you do have to see your vision out and keep going, okay? So I don't actually believe it's a bubble, okay? And I'm going to sort of give a hint of why I don't think it's a bubble by going through these milestones in my life, right? So in 1988, I went down to London because I've got these newfound software skills, and a company called Ernst & Young called me up and said, we've got a virus. It's called a virus, it's really bad, it's all our PCs don't work, can you help? So I realised what it was. I wrote a piece of software, it fixed everything. They came running back to me and they said, Paul, it's absolutely fantastic, why don't you create a business fixing viruses? And I went, no, you've only got a virus because you're just using an awful operating system. It's Microsoft operating system, it's just awful. And the industry will fix that problem and we'll have a proper operating system like Unix or something very quickly. So I'm not going to get in that business. What a stupid mistake. I mean, the virus industry, I was due to sit on a panel with John McAfee, sorry, but it didn't actually happen, but it will happen eventually. So that's going to be an interesting experience. And I'll tell him that he went that route and I didn't. And look at him now, although maybe you don't envy John McAfee with his issues in life. But the point is, in this case, everybody bangs, you know, the technology behind blockchain and everything. But the point is, there's opportunity in imperfection. Okay, so it shouldn't turn us off that it's not quite perfect yet. because often that's where a lot of opportunity comes from. A couple of years later, I ended up in Kuwait, just going in at the end of the Gulf War. I wasn't part of the military, but I was part of the firefighting effort to put all of the oil wells out, if you remember the history of the Gulf War. That was an amazing opportunity, unlimited budget. Normally when you're choosing technologies, you choose one, right, through due diligence process, and you pick the right one for your long-term strategy. We just bought everything we could buy. So we had every operating system. Novell NetWare, which no one remembers now. We had we had Oracle for, not just Oracle for one platform, we had Oracle for Deck Ultrix, Oracle for Novell had an Oracle instance on it, Oracle for Windows NT, we had everything. Well, Windows NT didn't exist at the time. But, so we just bought everything. So imagine how much you learn when you're able to not constrain yourself to one thing. You're looking at all the products, all the different ways of doing things. You're not trying to narrow the scope too early. So extreme situations or extreme circumstances, which we are having across the world now, is massive fuel for innovation. Right? So I ended up not being able to come to the UK for tax reasons for a couple of years after being in the Middle East. Nothing bad, but just you have to stay out of the country at that time. So I ended up in Geneva, and I set up a company in Geneva. And I remember being in a bigger meeting than this, where the conversation was about when will they allow commercial traffic on the ARPANET, which is basically the internet. Imagine that. So I remember that. I remember us sending these little letters to each other with an update of what is, where are we with it, what are the major players, why we can't do it yet, etc., etc. So imagine that, and, some of you just couldn't possibly remember the world without the internet, right? Or imagine, sorry, the world without the internet. So now what happened was I understood how web servers worked at the time. I had actually been to CERN and discovered the web server that Tim Berners-Lee was working on. And I started to try and build a business out of it, and I went all around Switzerland selling web servers. I obviously went bust, because absolutely nobody knew what I was talking about. So now, but if I had the resources to stick with it and the foresight, because I was very young, to just bomb around for another 2 or 3 years in Geneva, the market would have come to me. But you don't know, do you? But the lesson to be learned there is you have to stick with it, and that is why I was saying that I'm very tempted to just switch into investing in cryptocurrency, but I need to stick with what our plan was. I ended up working in financial services in London, in dealer and floors, building FX systems, credit management systems, CDOs, the horrible CDOs and things. We were so excited to be in that business. It was so creative. The products that we were creating in financial services really solved some major problems like managing your interest rate risk and things like that. We were really excited about it. It was a very stimulating place to work. But look what happened. We got to 2008 and now everybody has a very different view of financial services. So what I'm saying here is bad often comes from good, right? So there's a lot of good intentions behind blockchain, but maybe we're already sniffing some of the potential bad, okay? Dot-com boom. So I got bored of really frustrated working for the banks, and in 2001 I thought, wow, it's happening, I'm going to go to the States and raise some money. So I went to the States, raised some money, just a bit of money, started doing the terms for a bigger raise, quite an exciting raise, I won't go into the details. 2001, bang! Bloody dumped on me, right? Everything was gone. The company that was offering me the money was a company called Global Crossing. It was one of the most famous companies in the NASDAQ at that time, right? Absolutely massive. Went into administration. Okay, so timing is crucial. So anyway, I had to go back and work. I ended up at JP Morgan Chase. No innovation or anything. I was just working on solutions for regulation. So now there's no innovative products in the banks or anything. They're just working out how do they meet these regulatory requirements. They're so big, they're so complicated, it's impossible to give a statement of the position of the bank at any one time, right? So that was difficult. But what was important is I think we all know this phrase, too big to fail. Okay? So we all see that as a bad thing now, don't we? It's too big to fail, we need to regulate it. This is our opportunity now. We need to get so much momentum in the crypto space, so much money into it, get capitalization up, these guys that are being regulated cannot cause a problem for the crypto community, or because I do believe in it. I definitely think this is a turning point that's massive opportunity. I'm not an academic on it. Lots of other people could talk about it better than I. But the point is, we need to become too big to fail. Right? As soon as we become too big to fail, it's there, and they won't roll it back. So that brings me to 2013, third time. I thought I'd have another go and Zonafide. So the key thing here is I swore that I wouldn't do anything just because it was technology. So when I left in 2014, actually, I'd already found a problem in 2013 with a lot of people motivated to participate in the product. There was a real problem to solve, and that was around identity theft and cybercrime and things like that, okay? So we had a problem to solve. So I'm hoping there's a turn here where, you know, the opportunity, there's going to be a perfect storm opportunity for a lot of people in this startup space, in that we actually started before the next big thing, because blockchain wasn't big 2013, 2014, okay? It just so happens that the way the technology works gave me a technical platform which I could use to solve this problem, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. So I'm sorry that was a big intro there, but this is the first time I've ever gone through this with anybody, but to me it seems pretty obvious when you look at history where it's pointing you, all right? Okay, so with a great history, no one knows who I am, right? But luckily, in March, when we launched our product and we demoed it and we showed we had a real product that you could use, which was very rare, there's a guy called Stefan Twal. Some people like him, some people don't. But basically, he issued this technology stack, and he put us dead centre here, Zonafide. So I feel that we're on the map of the community from a technical perspective. So we've got a heartbeat, okay? Let's step back though. What is the problem that we're trying to solve? We're trying to enable people to work together. It says there, work together to prevent fraud. We're constantly evolving our vocabulary, and you'll notice in most places now it says work together to secure activities. That's because preventing fraud is a negative. If you're solving fraud, it makes people feel uncomfortable, right? So we've changed it now to say we're securing activities. But effectively, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to enable people to actually collaborate in stopping activities happening that they hadn't planned to do, right? So, but not just that, we felt that every single interaction you have with a company now is really tricky because of all these extra regulations and checks they have to do. So is there a way of building more trust technically so that actually is a smoother experience for everybody? So we came up with three, and we did a lot of simulations. We had simulations where we invited 30 or 40 people together, and we had like a party, and we simulated a murder with different characters that played different roles, and then we observed them. But underlying, we'd sort of created this situation where they had to give information away and things like that. We watched how they behaved, and we realised there's a certain principles that we should adopt that seem obvious, but you know, we stick to them all the time now in every decision we make. First of all, people. So we always knew that we always found there was someone else who said, I knew they wouldn't do that. So if we could create I knew they wouldn't have done that, sorry. So, you know, maybe they've spent 10 grand on a mobile phone or something, right? There was always someone else who said, well, I knew they wouldn't have done that. So we felt if we were able to pull people together like that and allow them to assist, that, you know, that would be a good thing. The next thing was everybody was focusing on information and blaming the consumer, saying you've got to secure your PC, you've got to secure your phone, etc. So we just think that the battle to secure your information is lost, it's gone. You know, I'm broadcasting everything I'm saying now, so you can't control your information. So we wanted to focus on activities. So even though people might have the information, we want to stop people being able to act on it. And by focusing on that side, we came up with some more novel, interesting approaches to the problem. The third thing was the most elusive, and that was with every organisation with technology, they're set in their ways, they're really concerned about email, things like that, they're really concerned about any routes into their firm. So when I spoke to a number of organisations with my initial architectural approach, they just said, no way, we can't do it. We've got to scale down that particular transport, it's called technically, into our business. We can't do it. So I thought, wow, I've got a problem here. Even normal, well-established transport mechanisms, they won't accept them. So we were lucky that Selena was going to a lot of financial service sector forums, and they were talking about blockchain, and Ethereum popped up, and Selena said, Paul, you've got to look at it. I looked at it 1 year ago, no, 1 year, 2 months now.
Yeah, March.
I dumped all the stuff that I'd done, and within 3 weeks I'd migrated everything over to the Ethereum platform. Since that point, I've hardly had to think about Ethereum, right? It's just there. It does. Our test server, I haven't even rebooted it, I just leave it there, it just works, okay? So Ethereum, that's testament to the fact that the architecture and the approach that they've taken with Ethereum means that it's a platform that you can be confident that you can build products on, okay? So we are an Ethereum-based product. Who knows, who's heard of Ethereum? Oh, good, that's not bad, is it? So I'm not going to give an intro to Ethereum, but what I can say, I think it's the second most popular cryptocurrency at the moment, right? So I think Bitcoin's running about $2,900, no, $2,500, it took a dip, right? But Ether's running, last time I looked, was running about $380, and I think it was about $5 before Christmas, okay? All right, so what are we about? We're all about assuring activities are genuine. We want to make that as simple as sending a message or a text from your phone, okay? And the key differentiator is that we're enabling family, friends and professionals to help in that assurance. And as soon as you get just one extra person involved in securing an activity, it's significantly harder for someone to compromise, because it's two people, two different channels, two different contexts. But not just solving the fraud, as I've said, is this activity, because it's easily accessible, can be something that any organisation can refer to in a process, and it will make it much easier for them to verify that an activity that a customer's doing is legitimate. So the proposition we give to the public is that we're helping them ensure that it's their instructions that are being acted on. And I've got a few scenarios that I'll talk about which make it really clear what we mean. This is the mobile app. It's in 0.5 at the moment. Still beta, available on Android and Apple. With Apple, you do have to give us a request, and we have to permission you through something called Test Flight to get hold of it, because it's still beta. Trevor's going to use it's a real pain, but I can understand why they're doing it. With Android, it's much easier to deploy on
So much
Android.
nicer before Apple bought Test Flight.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's getting better, So if you've got an Android, if you go to Google Play and you type Zonafide, you can install the app now. It does need to run on a cryptocurrency, so none of these technologies work unless you're paying something. So you'll have 0 credit, but we can give you some credit. Okay? It's not real ETH, it's test ETH. Right? So you can create any kind of activity, and an activity is represented by what's called a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain. You can share a reference to that activity any way you want, securing the knowledge that only the parties that you have included in the activity have the ability to change the state of it cryptographically. Okay, that's the benefit of using these blockchain platforms. There's 3 roles that you can play with the app. You can create activities, you can acknowledge other people's activities, which is a really good thing to do, and you can verify activities. The verification is, you get the full verification capability in the mobile app, but of course for organisations, they're able to access the blockchain directly and use APIs to process these activities and integrate them with their existing systems. We've just adopted this new term, and we're calling it a digital wallet for securing activities, because people are getting used to the concept of a digital wallet for your cryptocurrency. So I think we're the very first to be an alternative wallet that's storing something else other than cryptocurrency. Right, so having been in the business a long time, I don't normally build any software and put all that creative and emotional effort into it until I really feel that we've got a channel to market and we've got people motivated to on board with the product. that's where Selina came in, and that's Selina's expertise. Selina went out to local governments after realising there was a particular behaviour in register services. Does anybody not know what register services are? So if you get married, or you have a baby, or you die, these are the people that record it as a statutory process. So just like other local government services, they're strapped for cash under austerity, so they're building out business teams looking for how they can create additional revenue. We spotted that as an opportunity. Now, the indicator for us to commit to doing this 18 months ago was we made up a concept, we made up a business case and a revenue model around it. We looked at how the local governments run, we looked at their accounts, figured out, how much money they could make from a service, and then we sent out an email to many registered services, 185, and we had something like a 40% hit rate within a week, all coming back to us. So that was an indicator to me, I think we got the right channel. So we started to, in fact it was so popular, we went to see so many of them, some of, going, wow, some are going, I want it, some are going, no, never happened, but we got such a good response, we actually had to start turning them down, right? And we said, hold on, this business model we've got, there's another player, which is service providers, which I'm going to talk about. We need to go and see them. So we went to see them, they were much more negative. We did go see, did we see Eon?
Eon, yeah.
We did Thames Water, British Gas,
Barclays,
Virgin Media. So we're calling all of those at board level, pestering them, and then they pass us down to somebody else. And then we go and see them, and they're just going, well, my boss told me to talk to you. They didn't know, we didn't talk about blockchain or anything like that, so we didn't have a hook, right? We were just going and saying, is this of interest to you, right? Now, one of the things that the first service that we were looking to do is that when you get married, if you want to change your name, one of the partners wants to change their name, it's a pain to do it now. It really is. So a lot of people give up and get halfway through it and don't bother. But that's an issue. When it comes to identity theft, you need to keep all your records in sync. It definitely becomes an issue if you're not in control of that. So that's very difficult. And if we thought we could make that a one-click exercise, right, people would be willing to pay something. Now, they already paid £20 or £30 for a piece of paper saying you were married, okay, which a lot of banks say you must show that to prove that you've been married. But the funny thing is, you can go to any registrar and ask for anybody's marriage certificate. So using it as a form of check for identity is a bit silly. Now, what they're planning to do is they will be an acknowledger, right? And they will provide an acknowledgement to an activity that's, say, a death or a marriage, for a fee, say £30. Okay. So this is an easy way. All they have to do is go and acknowledge, and they get £30. And the revenue model we put together for them was to help them raise an extra 30 million. So in my business, it's very small. Okay, I think my department's budget at JP Chase was 400 million. Right, so this seems small, but to local authorities, to start with this, no investment in technology is needed. They don't have to speak to their IT department. They don't need any support. All they're doing is just digitally acknowledging.
Is that each or across all the ones that you're working with?
That's across. It is across all, not each. If it was, I'd be the Prime Minister, right, or something. But no, it is across them all. That's why I'm saying it's not massive, okay. But it's just England and Wales. If you can imagine the same concept being rolled out into other jurisdictions, and there are other jurisdictions that have the similar kind of approach. Not Spain. Spain, they keep their own names and things like that. But there is a big market just for this one service in local government. Okay, so what we're doing now, we've already got agreements signed with quite a few of them. So they're just waiting now for us to give them the software and start providing the service. They'll market it themselves. When you get married, the note of marriage is a very intense process, and you're offered a lot of products. So this will be one of the products that they offer you in that process. And of course, it has a high level of trust when it's done. So there's not a great expense for us in marketing it. Where we are now is we're now trying to reach out to service providers. Because we're now blockchain, that's given us a much better hook.